it's recording now. So these are called ice. They're like snow anchors. So when you're climbing on like snow or glaciated routes, if I can get one off the fucking sling here, you don't need three of them. I have three of them because of friends, and their inability to be responsible human beings. So this is a snow anchor, and what you do is like you like dig in the snow, and you can put this in like this and bury it, and this is like an anchor piece, or you can like hammer them down in, and then it's also like an anchor piece, and so it's used when you're climbing. If somebody falls in a crevasse rescue is like probably the first or second like most important thing to know, because like when you're walking up glaciers, right, sometimes it'll look like it's flat snow, but it's not. There's like a hole underneath, and you can fall in, and it's real bad. So you want to stay roped up because those crevasses are like real deep. Some of them you just can't even see the bottom of them.
They go straight to Mordor.
Yeah, basically. I mean, like, I'll send you a picture. I took some pictures the last time I was on a glacier, and like, dude, you could just like into the void. And if you fall into one of those, they're just like, you're gone. Nobody's coming to get you. It's just over.
Mm-hmm.
And you just either hopefully you die on impact or you slowly die in there. So
well, that's a lovely way to start tonight.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. So mountaineering is just like another like niche rich people sport, right? Like there are two groups of people who do mountaineering. There are like rich people who can pay for it, right? And then there are guides, basically like people who this is all they do. Like their job is to like get people up mountains, and they have like their whole net worth is in gear, and they have like $20 in their bank account, but they somehow make it work. It's like I've done a couple guided trips because I think I fall more into the first category than the second category. And I'm always like, I always ask them because they're usually like younger human beings. I'm always like, hey, like, what is your plan when you can no longer guide? Because it's like a real physical business. You have to get people up and get people down mountains.
Sure.
How do you do this into your 50s? And none of them have a real good answer. So it's kind of interesting, like, because you can do it in your 20s, you can definitely do it into your 30s. A very few amount of people make it into their 40s, but it caps out real quick. And most of the people who make it in their 40s like start running their own guide services. So it's kind of a little bit of a pyramid scheme in certain respects. Yeah, I mean, like,
did you just make a pun there with the pyramid for the mountain?
Oh no, I didn't, not intentionally, but like, it's just kind of like I mean, I don't know. It's like one of those things where like there's I think a lot of people like the idea of being a guide and like doing that every day, but like you're completely dependent on people's tips, and you have to like at some point you just can't do it anymore. And then there's a question of what are you going to do next? And your resume is like guided.
Like, yeah, I'm really good at walking up and down ice-covered mountains.
Like you're good at like risk mitigation. Like there's all sorts of stuff that you could like quote unquote spin, but like truthfully, if you've not used like Microsoft Word or anything like that, it's like how many people really give a shit? Like most people don't understand what risk mitigation means anyhow, so it's fine. Anyhow, that's a diatribe we could get into, but I'm not going to. Speaking of risk and risk mitigation.
Speaking of taigas.
Dude, anyhow, speaking of taigas, let's talk Sin City Open 2025 and how you fucking crush people with just 60 cards.
Yeah, that was a mistake. Well, a happy one, but
yeah. But you had the option. Okay, so let's back people up. I'll let you tell the story, but from my perspective, showed up Saturday after a rather wild Friday to you counting out 60 cards, no sideboard. What? And you were offered cards from at least me and definitely one other person. But let's run through it. Tell me about 60 card green red.
Yeah. So if I can back up a little bit, I went and saw a couple of friends last fall. We went into the Michigan Peninsula and rented this Airbnb that was an old firehouse that they really leaned into that with the decor. And my friend Casey from Nashville, he got a wild hair up his butt a while ago, and he built this kind of revised fourth edition Chronicles, just red green absolute beaters deck. Urnums. I don't think he has Taigas, or he might have revised Taigas, but Urnums and Curdapes and Pixies and Bolts and Giant Growths and stuff. And we were just hanging out. There were 5 of us at this Airbnb for the weekend, and we're barbecuing and hanging out. And he's like, "Hey, you want to play red green mirror match?" And I have been known to dabble in the red green space. Yeah, I love it. But I pulled my deck out and I start riffle shuffling it with the sleeves and stuff. And he just pulls open his box, and I hear that of the riffle shuffle, right? And I don't know what happened, but that just changed my entire path of existence. And we just played this awesome mirror match. We were playing, I love to play berserks, so I was playing berserks and giant growths and little creatures, and he was playing bigger stuff and channel fireball and stuff. But he just planted this seed in my brain that these cards were made to be played unsleeved, and it just released something visceral in my brain. Like I don't know how else to describe it, but it was like instinct kicked in. I'm like, I have to do this. And so I went pretty hard into red green, and I'm like, I don't love blue cards. I don't have any black cards anymore. I rarely play any white cards. Let's just get rid of them and start getting stuff. And so I also love altered cards, right? And
Yes.
so for Vegas, I decided, hey, I'm going to play red green. I did really well in one of our local tournaments with red green last year. And so I threw the deck together, put it in my box, had my sideboard out, and I forgot to take a photo. So I pulled the deck out, took a photo of it back at home, put the cards back in the deck box. Guess what didn't make it in the deck box?
15, exactly 15.
The 15 sideboard cards. So, we Friday, I got to Vegas with Joe Fairbanks and Doug. Thursday night, we kind of called it early, then went mountain biking all day Friday. It was awesome. I would highly suggest that for anybody that likes that kind of stuff. Go mountain biking with Doug. But we played pre-modern Friday night. Whatever, I hate pre-modern. Sold all the cards.
Just come play sorcery. Just come play sorcery.
Yeah. We're out of that game. But Saturday morning, we wake up, went to have breakfast. I had put my deck in my box, put my deck box in my bag, and rolled. We get to the event site, and I realized I hadn't taken the final deck photo, so I pull the cards out, lay them out, and I'm like, "Huh, this deck box is feeling a little light."
Love it. Love it.
And we're like 10 minutes from the opening bell at this point. And so I'm looking around, and I'm just like, well, I just came here to throw fastballs anyway, because the way I play red green, we could talk a little bit more about that, but
yes,
is all gas, no brakes. I'm like, if I don't have a sideboard, I don't have to use the sideboard cards. I'm just going to play what I want to play. And so several people walked by while I was taking my picture, and I have altered cards for pretty much everything. And so I had all that stuff with me, and people come by and like to ooh and ah. And I love to talk about that stuff. And I had several people offer me cards. Several people had suggestions, right? Including you and a couple other people, which was really nice. And there's some good ideas floating around, but there's definitely some different theories on how to play green red. And some people like a little bit more mid-range, a little bigger creatures, and some people just want to go as small and as fast as possible.
Yep.
So that's where we ended up. Several people offered me cards. I was like, you know what? I don't have the sleeves. I'm not swapping this stuff out all day.
Fuck it.
We're just here to kind of have fun anyway. Like I didn't have blue cards. I only had the 2 boxes. So it wasn't like I had huge aspirations. You know me, I'm not a big spiky guy. And so, we just, I sat down with Mark Brothers round 1. I'm like, all right, well, let's see how this goes today.
Excellent matchup for you, by the way, because Mark Brothers was on like red white, also like kind of mid range aggro. Yeah. So you definitely had the upper hand. Except he had a couple first strikers in his deck, as I remember. But
he gave me some trouble that first round.
yeah, I can believe it because he had like what Thunder Spirits and like White Knights and some stuff like he had like I think he was playing a couple Bloodlusts in there as well. Like he kind of you guys were kind of playing the same deck.
Yes,
I think
yeah.
your creatures are just better than his creatures with the Giant Growths and the Berserks because he doesn't have access to Giant Growth. But
yeah, and he has Swords of Plowshares, which I just kind of played around all day, and so I didn't Giant Growth, Berserk into white mana, but I have the Bolts and Chains, which just kind of they're better than Swords of Plowshares when against what I'm trying to do, because if I play Llanowar Elf, Scrib Sprite, Kurt Ape, Pixie, I was like, go ahead and Swords one of them.
Pick
Doesn't
one.
matter.
Pick one.
Yeah, pick one. I don't care. But yeah, it's funny. Mark and I have played several times. He jokingly refers to himself as Mini Cam because he's like a skinnier, handsomer version of me, but he's like kind of just broken down about 3/4 size of Cam.
Yeah. I agree.
And so, but we had a really close match. It went down to game 3, kind of went down to the wire, and I just pulled it out. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. I don't win a lot of round ones. so then we got started from there, and let's talk about. I actually wrote down.
You wrote down your matchups?
I wrote down a couple of them. Okay, so the second round again was off because you know me. I'm a big talker. I'm there for the social aspect.
Yes.
I can't remember this guy's name, but he's one of the SoCal guys that splits time in Vegas, so he goes back and forth.
Ooh.
And he was out with some of the high rollers the night before and did a ton of gambling. He was playing mono white, but he had come off a major heater the night before and was still 3 sheets to the wind.
So he was up. Okay.
Yeah, he was up big. And so
good.
But he's playing this mono white, control with some Serra Angels. And the thing I remember in the second game, I had a bunch of creatures on board. He had nothing going on.
Yeah.
It was like all I could do is top deck a Wrath. And he did. He top decked the Wrath, and we both like high-fived. He got 6 of my creatures, and I think I bolted him next turn or something stupid. But it was one of those things where you're like, the story is better than the actual what happens at the end, because I was just destroyed him.
Good. Fucking
yeah.
I was not on a heater for that weekend.
It was awesome. Yeah, and then do you remember before the tournament started, there were several of us talking green red. It was me, you,
yes.
Dave Craig, and then a guy named William
Norris from
yes.
He sent me, shout out to this guy. He sent me a like nice little care package that had like some nice basics in it, and I'm trying to find the card because I just looked at it today. Yeah, here it is. He sent me, like, I still have the card. The cards are in my deck box now, but he's Knights of the Folding Table. He's out of Oklahoma.
Yes.
We talked a lot of Oklahoma stuff.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
He was a great dude. So he was the one that was really trying to say, like, hey, green red is a little bit of a trap where you're trying to play Kurt Ape and enough forest to support it, and you can't do both. He's like, drop the Kurt Apes, go smaller, and then play 2 Sylvan Library over wheel. And I was like, that's an interesting.
It's a concept.
Yeah, interesting concept. I mean, we might have to get some Sylvans and try that out. But he also, let me back up too.
Sure.
We did Secret Santa with our local group last year, and Joe Fairbanks, my boy, made me these amazing green red Mafia Berserk patches.
Oh yeah. Those are good.
So I have a limited number of those, and so I gave William one of them. I actually think Tanny gave William his, and then I gave Tanny his back. But anyway, he's definitely a green red player. But he, it's Vegas. It's a big tournament, 60 or 70 people. So he's like, dude, I'm playing blue white, playing control, and I just kind of stomped on him, and did green red things. Like Llanowar Elf turn 1, he strips my land. I'm like, okay, well now you're a land behind. Play my Played my Kurt played my Pixies, Giant Growth a couple times. And I just never got punished by balance because you know me, I'm all
Yeah.
gas. And so like we're going as wide as possible. I'm emptying my hand.
Well, that's probably why he didn't balance you, right? Is like
Yeah.
the antithesis of that is like red green can be empty-handed
Mhm.
relatively quickly, like turn 3 ish, or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
virtually empty-handed, like you have like a giant growth and a berserk in your hand or whatever, right? But
Yeah.
yeah,
So you'll be really proud of me. I picked this trick up because I've been playing this a lot lately, and my deck only needs 1 or 2 lands to play. And so instead of playing out all your lands, I've started holding them in my hand. And twice in the day, I had people DT for Mind Twist while I had
yeah.
2 cards in hand. Both were lands, and they would DT, Mind Twist me, tap out, and I just like, all right, because they thought I'm holding Berserk or Giant Growth Berserk.
You got to bluff them. Like that's your
Yeah.
bluff, right? Is like this could be absolutely everything, or it could be literally fucking nothing.
And
You're very polarized.
it's the only way I can catch up with Ancestral Mind Twist to like not having all that power in it. And so that's I can't remember who taught me that trick, but I've been trying to up my table game a little bit.
I think that's
'Cause-
where like Sylvan Library can be helpful because you don't
Mhm.
necessarily care about your like your life total per se,
Mhm.
unless you're like in the mirror match or whatever. But
So
I
it's
don't know.
funny talking about that. I threw in a Gazban ogre because Neil made me one.
That
as
was
part of the
that was
trade.
the only card I thought was questionable in
Yeah.
the entire
But,
16.
but you know what? I was up on like I kind of kept track in my head. I was up on life all day. I was always ahead. Now I didn't get punished because I only ran into one pseudo mirror match.
Mhm.
But for the most part, I was way ahead all day, and so the ogre wouldn't have been in trouble. The one time I played it, it immediately got wrathed. So
Happens.
like not enough information, but it felt like it would have been just fine.
Did you
Yeah.
play against any 12 bolt decks?
I did round 5 against Mike Simpson. He was playing Rugatog.
Yeah, he fucking stomped me round 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he was my only loss. And like he just drew better. I drew just fine, but
Mhm.
he had an ancestral, he regrowth his ancestral, and it's just a little too much power to catch up. And then his sideboard, he got me with a falling star, which was
Yep.
really the only time all day I got punished. But it like up until that point, I was 4-0 playing at table 1. I played at table 1.
Sweat hogging it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what James came over twice and was like, "What are you doing up there?"
What happened?
Yeah.
No,
So it was awesome. Like, yeah, I played against Matt Monroe on Reanimator, and he was so pissed because he had fought his way to the top table with this, quote unquote spicy deck,
yes.
which it is, right? And it's just his absolute worst matchup because none of his removal lines up with mine, and I'm way too aggressive, and he's bizarring, and just motherfuckered me the whole time because he good naturedly he and I go way back, but he was just so pissed because he's like, I have this tournament like laid out, except for my one Achilles heel comes in and I just stomped on his neck with little creatures.
He just wasn't expecting to see at the top table. He just wasn't ready for it. Now he's always going to have something in his sideboard.
Yeah, exactly. Like throw the one earthquake in, bud.
Yeah, just one little earthquake.
Yeah, I mean earthquake, balance, wrath, all that stuff is pretty good. So that was awesome. And then so I was 5-1, or it was a 4-1. I think it was 4-1, and I just missed the top table. There were the 2 5-0s. So you know who I sat across from at the number 2 table in that final round was your boy David Craig.
David Craig.
David
doing God's
Craig,
work.
Yeah. So he was on this weird bug control list
Yes.
with a bunch of land destruction. And he was like the only person in that room having as much fun as I was him.
Yes.
But yeah, we went back and forth. He got me with a power sink that I didn't see.
Yeah, he plays like that as like I'm not joking. He plays like 1 or 2 of them. And almost any blue deck he has, just know that there's at least one power sink in there.
Yeah,
it's in there.
because I was looking at his mana, and he had like one blue and some like a soul ring or something else. And I'm like, oh, he doesn't have it. So I went just like bolt attack, giant growth berserk, and games start shuffling my cards up. He's like, wait, because I run a little hot and a little fast sometimes.
Just show me the counter spell. You know what I mean?
I was like, you don't got it. But yeah, we had an awesome game, and then at the end we traded altars too, which was fun. So.
Nice. Yeah, Dave Craig, great dude. We braved Circus together, which was probably my biggest gamble of the weekend. Was Circus, which apparently is getting sold, by the way. Circus is no longer going to exist, so it will no longer tempt me with very, very cheap rooms. Let's talk. If you're ready, are you ready to talk red green theory? Theory of the red green, which is really just us cavemen like hitting rocks together. I think I was the one who mentioned not playing Curd Ape in a 4-strip environment. Now, in in like a soft environment, what we call a permissive environment.
Yes.
So all the 1-strip environments, I think Curd Ape is definitely doable, right? Because you're more likely to keep your Taiga, right?
Sure.
So you can do the turn 1 Taiga in a Curd Ape. In a 4-strip environment, I think it might be slightly a trap because you're inclined to play 4 strips, 4 cities, and then the literal minimal amount of lands you could possibly fucking play. Yeah. And I think that the Curd Ape, you can get blown out because if you have, let's say you have 1 forest out and they strip it and then they can earthquake you for 1 instead of an earthquake for 3. Like there's a bunch of different ways to blow people out with it.
Yeah.
That is my theory. So I kind of agree there that maybe Curd Ape is not a 4 of. It might be like a 2 or a 3. But if you reduce Curd Ape, then you can reduce your forest count, and that allows you to like have a better curve, so you miss less. I don't know. That was my theory, and I will probably test that out in the Derby this summer.
You know, that's a really interesting point, because one thing I found myself doing over and over and over again, knowing we're playing in 4-strip, is I would always turn 1. If I had a factory strip or City of Brass, that's going first. And it's just like, those are good cards, right? But it's bait because I have to have the Taiga stick. And especially the SoCal and Vegas guys are so aggressive with their strips.
Yeah, I didn't play a single control deck all day. I only played aggressive decks.
Yeah, and it's like they'll strip that first land. They don't even care, especially when they don't see a Mox come down.
Yep.
They're like, "Oh, you got greedy, and I'm going to punish you." But then I would just be patient. Basically, you're starting the game over, and I'd go Taiga, Llanowar Elf. Then I'd be rolling. Then I'd be probably 1 more land, and it's 2 creatures, bolts, giant growths, and just going nuts. Now I have a hard time because it's red green, right? Mm-hmm. But I play it more green red at this point. I would like to go heavier into green. I don't love Curd Ape, but it's just like the best thing you can be doing, especially game 1.
I think you can. So like we talked, I think Concordant Crossroads is a good insert at like 1 or 2. I think Sylvan Library is a good insert at 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. You can also just you can almost freely splash black. So you can play, like basically take like DFE green and then make it slightly worse by adding bolts and chains. That's kind of like my idea would be, like play Bayous and then play Goth Chick and then just have those extra 1-drops. So you can just go even wider. That's my only thought on it. I think the ogre idea is interesting. I need to buy some so I can test it out as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather cut my arm off than play the Goth Chick and more Ice Storm, because it's 3 mana. I want to attack. I'd rather play Berserk in that spot and play a different deck. I was laying in bed the other night thinking about Maze. And I'm like, why do these guys play Maze? Why do they play 4 mazes? Why is this thing? And then I realized you have 3 creatures, like you have 3 1/1s, whatever, three crappy creatures, and they have a Serendib or an Atog, right?
Yep.
It allows you to attack with all 3 creatures every turn. You just maze the one that gets blocked, and the other 2 get in, because otherwise, without the maze, you can't attack at all.
Correct.
And so that thought finally came to my head. I'm like, man, 4 slots plus the land drops is a heavy price to pay. But maybe it's worth it, especially if you're going to stick with the go wide and not like get away from Maze as a control card, as a defensive card, and it's literally just the way to punch through. Maybe it takes the bolt spot. I mean, or maybe the chain lightning spot.
I mean, chain's probably the worst card in the deck, right?
Yeah.
So I think Maze has some other abilities too, right? Because you can save your creature from the berserk because you remove it from combat and a combat step, and then it technically wasn't in combat, right?
Yeah.
So you can like still deal damage with berserk, save your creature. I don't know. There's a lot of flexibility with Maze.
You can also berserk their creature and Maze it, and then
yeah, and then be like, get fucked.
Yeah.
So there's, I don't know. I think Maze probably, to me, Maze is always in the 75. It's just whether it's in the 60 or in the 15. I think the last red green deck I looked at that I had made had like 3 in the sideboard because it answers like your worst nightmares, which is Sarah Angel, Serendipity, right?
Yeah.
Everything else you don't
see. I don't mind Dib because 1, it means they're not going to fire off a bottle. 2, they're getting pinged every time, and I'm just racing to get them to 20. So it's like if they want to waste their turn attacking me for 3 and getting pinged, I love it. I'll take it. And then every once in a while I'll blow them out with a Scrib Sprite and Giant Growth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
what is your so the reason I think about black is just splashing for terror in the sideboard. Like literally not even a main deck card, just like 3 terrors in the sideboard for dealing with Sarah Angels. But if you play Maze, that is like a semi answer. It doesn't like get rid of the problem, and they always have a blocker back, but you can also Giant Growth berserk through an angel.
And avoiding the buying force unlimited bayous for Maze is what, like $12 and a bayou is 400.
yeah, more or less. There's a slight cost difference, but it's not huge. Yeah, that's the stuff I think about as far as like red green. But yeah, somebody a while, like 2 years ago, maybe 3, somebody had like a red green deck make it to the top of like Raging Bull or something like that, and I have that list saved somewhere, and I think that might, for 1 strip environment, is probably the answer. But it's super low to the ground. It does play Kurt Ape because it's 1 strip. But
I had 1 Urnum Djinn in here, and I immediately pulled, like, that was the first card I pulled out.
Yeah, it's too high. It's too high on the curve.
It's too high. I don't want to play this card. But the Sylvan Library is real interesting because if you get rid of Wheel, then you don't have to play the Chain Lightnings. I mean, Chain Lightning is really for you cast Wheel and then you double bolt them for the win. But if you're playing Sylvan also lets you like Giant Growth, Berserk, and like it doesn't matter if they have white mana because you're drawing 4 cards.
Yep. Yeah, it's the payoff for power for playing against Swords of Plowshares. The what was it? Oh fuck, I had a thought there about. Yeah, I think Wheel is a trap if you're not playing a whole lot of burn. Wheel's probably fine in like a more mid-range red green deck, which is like Casey probably has a better idea about all this, but like you're playing Fireball, you're playing Channel, you're playing like Ernie's. You're like have a Soul Ring in there. I don't think any of that's in the aggro red green deck, right? Like, which is really just a aggro green red deck.
Yeah, there's no Soul Ring, no Chaos Orb, no Lotus.
The Chaos Orb is spicy. I still play Chaos Orb. I need that answer, even when I miss.
Yeah, and like, look, I didn't get punished. I didn't get punished by Abyss. Although I have, when I play a sideboard, there's 4 Whirling Dervishes, and I'll take that.
Yep.
Concord and Crossroads, obviously, there's one of those. I have a couple Beta Tranquility, which are pretty sick. But again, that's 3 mana.
That's high. That's super high on the curve of ones and twos.
Yeah. So another kind of spicy meatball I looked at, a couple ones here. Is it Fire Pixie or Fire Sprite?
Fire Sprites. It's 1 in a green, 1/1 flyer, but you can do 1 in a red to make a green man or something like that.
It's green and tap to make a red.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah.
So I play 1 Bird of Paradise because up until this tournament I didn't have a Ruby, And so I was playing an extra bird for an extra red source, and I'm wondering if that would help. Because one, it pumps by Pendelhaven. It attacks way better, right?
It does. It's either that or Emerald Dragonfly. I'm not sure what the utility
I
value
do
of
play.
green for a first strike is. I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I'm not that smart about it.
I've never given it first. I have a really nice one. Tanny made me one for my birthday a couple years ago, and so altered one. So I always play it even over the script, the four scripts, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But I've never ever used its ability ever, not once.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever given something like it because you never are worried about double green. Like you'd rather go Giant Growth Berserk than
Yeah,
give something first strike. Who gives a fuck if you're gonna just run them over?
dude. So another card I was thinking about, and this kind of takes it in a little different direction, but hippie is a problem. And do you know the card Winter Blast?
Yeah. It's like you deal 2 damage to each like flying creature and tap them or something like that. I have a revised one, or not a revised, but like a white border one because
Yeah.
the Legends black border one is like super expensive.
Dude, I didn't really. Yeah, I looked on there. It was like $25 or something.
Yeah.
It was something.
Yeah.
It was something stupid. I'm like, what is? Why is this card expensive? But
Yeah, it's X and green for tap target X creatures. Winter Blast deals 2 damage to each creature that with flying, right? And the
yeah,
Legends cost is like $20. $20. Fuck that. There's a 5th edition for 31 cents. Okay, sold.
yeah,
Like,
absolutely unplayable.
yeah,
Chaff. So, yeah, I mean, there are tons of stuff, out there. If you want to try other, like, you could just play Grizzly Bears if you just want a 2/2 for 2. I would rather play Elvish Archer, which that's my next thing is trying that.
I think
You
it's
get blown.
bad in factory environments.
Yeah. Well, you have to pair it with a bolt, a chain lightning, a giant growth. Like,
Yeah,
it's not good on its own. You're right. And that's where Kurt Ape at least can block.
but it can't trade. I mean, like
Yeah.
you got a 2-for-1 yourself to trade. That's factory is like the thing where I'm like, okay, even in red green, you're still playing 4 factory. It's just like part of playing old school.
Yeah. Hey, so where do you come out on Berserk? What do you think? Like, what gun to your head? What do you feel about Berserk?
Smarter people than me say 1 to 2. I kind of feel like if we're gonna play like low to the ground red green aggro or green red aggro, then you're playing 3 to 4. Like you've convinced me that playing 4 is probably not the. It is probably more right than wrong, right? I think that maybe the correct answer is 3. But man, like it, if you get, it's probably for an aggro deck, you want to play more of them. If you're playing the mid range version, you play 0 to 1.
Yeah, Josh Bragoa, he has a real interesting take on this because he plays a rug deck that's way more mid rangey with 4 Berserk, but he's berserking stuff like Siobhan Dragon, 2-headed giant of 4. Yeah, but and so he's like, you only need 1 Berserk to finish somebody off. You don't need giant growth Berserk. I will tell you though, like I've cast a lot of Berserks over the last couple of years, a lot, and the psychological effect on people cannot be understated.
You have to hold up mana. Like if you're playing like a blue white deck, like you always have to have an answer because you could just die, right?
They're doing math all the time, and it allows you to, like, you can bluff it always because it only takes 1 card, and they're already like, the Pendelhaven. Okay, if you do this, if you and like I'll tell you, the psych out effect was 100% real. I mean, several times people are just going in the tank, sweating, kind of getting up from the table and walking around. They're like, "You have," and like I'm just laughing because whether I have it or not, I just want to see him squirm.
Just want to see him sweat a little bit, just a little sweat.
Yeah. And so, like for me, it's worth it to get blown out every few matches or every tournament or so. You have one time where you go for it and they got it. But you just you pick your spots. It's an aggressive deck, but you can just chip. And if somebody wants to Swords of Plowshares a Scrib Sprite, fuck them. Go ahead.
Yeah, enjoy.
Go ahead.
Enjoy.
Yeah. You want a Swords of Pixie? Okay, I'll draw another one. I'm only playing like a very small amount of lands, and so the virtual card advantage is like I just draw hot all the time because I don't have any lands in my deck.
Well, that's where I think the 2-drop is for red green is Argothian Pixies, and then honestly Mishra's Factory, right, is like your actual second 2-drop.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
What are you doing for like artifact hate? Like, are you playing Shatters or are you
No,
no nothing? Just
the
like
humble. Well, in the sideboard, no. First of all, main deck, nothing
okay,
because I'm just not worried about it. I have to go faster than them. If they're gonna get Icy Manipulator out, or if they're gonna get like Triskelion, is a
Trike,
problem. I just have to.
Sushi, in
I have
fortress
to be.
environments or one
See,
trip.
Suchi is not that bad because I can usually trade a 1/1 with a giant growth or a 1/1 with a bolt
Okay,
for their Suchi. Like that's not bad. I do roll with the humble crumble in the sideboard.
that's what I was
Um,
going to ask you next. Was like artifact blast. So like the red green artifact removal is artifact
yeah,
blast, crumble, shatter,
yeah,
and I kind of feel like crumble and artifact blast, while much narrower, might be better answers.
yeah. I mean, people bring in uh they bring in blue blast against me for bolts, the wheel, that stuff. And so shatter, especially like 2 mana to get it blasted,
Yeah,
is just terrible. But like crumble, they can't do anything about. And yeah, when you draw a crumble and they have a trike with 1 counter on it,
you're like cool,
like
cool. Yeah, yeah.
this sucks. But you know, you just like the real answer to artifacts is Pixie.
Yeah.
And I went through factories all day. People think they're bulletproof with factories, and like it's just not true.
That's where I like the crumble the most, is because like you're like 1 mana, fuck your
Mhm.
factory. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like I said, it's you just get to go fast. Now the other direction that I take this deck sometimes is I pull out some of the chaff. You know, pull out the Land of War Elves, pull out the Script Sprites, and then I throw my full 5 Mox in, Atog, Black Vise, Anka Mishra, and you just
yeah,
go,
red green,
yeah,
ATOG. Yeah.
yeah, red green Tog. I don't have Tropical Islands anymore, so I don't splash blue in there, and I don't think you need to because you can lean on, you could play Crumble and Force Strip Mine, and then Ankh and Black Vise just leans on them so quick.
Mhm.
And Atog, you don't even need Atog. It's the Pixies beat them half the time, and then you just throw bolts and chain lightning and stuff. But you can just lean on with those Ankhs. You get double Ankh out and strip them.
Dude, double onk is just deadly because like
Yeah,
God, you can just fucking get people with that shit,
yeah,
and
it
it really
gets
helps control your control decks. Like they have
Mhm.
to answer that first.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, send me one of those lists later. I'm gonna go back to playing some red and green here. I think Sweat Hog, the year of the Sweat Hog is over. Back to doing other stuff. So
Hey, look, man, I've played a lot of blue cards in my life. I used to play blue red a bunch. The last time I actually sweated it up a little bit, I played Rug with Atog and Saradib and stuff, and that was fun. But look, I'm not like my path right now is not the one where I want to invite somebody to one of our horde events and they show up with mono black,
you're
and I
just like
just
fuck
yeah,
'em.
I'm just like I'm like cool, Lotus Time Twister, this that like I just I'm not that guy anymore.
You ever seen a dead body? You're about to. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
just you know, you're playing against somebody who you're round one, so everybody thinks they're going to win the tournament, and you can see the light fade from their eyes. And I'm like, man, we're not here for that. You're there's a stamped fourth edition
yeah.
Argothian Pixie on the line. Like even Joe was giving me a bunch of shit last time for our last tournament because he's like, these prizes suck. And I'm like, yeah,
It's the
that's
point.
the point. That's
God,
the point, you
yes.
sweaty fuck. So,
Oh man,
but yeah, it's awesome. Like I've got rid of a bunch of the blue cards, and I still have I still have some of my goodies left.
you
But
got to keep something in the bag just in case.
yeah, yeah.
Just in case
Hey,
somebody tests you.
and I can't go without saying like the Discord community, the Guild House is real special to me. We've done a lot together, but everybody chipped in. It was at right after my birthday earlier this year,
Uh-huh.
and everybody chipped in, and I was able to grab the missing card for this deck, which For my unsleeved deck, because I want to play this red green deck unsleeved. And
We
the last
forgot. We totally buried this. It's Swedish legal unsleeved.
yeah, it's
Okay.
Swedish legal unsleeved. So like the Taigas they're so massacred and the wheel is just shredded. But I got an emerald, an unlimited emerald off Doug at the beach last year. He cut me a great deal. And so everybody in the guild house, you know, pulled a little bit of money, did some trades, pulled a bunch of favors in, and so I got an unlimited ruby.
Fuck
And
yeah.
it is Camwall approved, you know. It is on the scale of like near mint, LP, MP, HP damage. It's
Yeah. The curve starts going back up when you get
yeah,
the
the curve
damage.
starts
Yeah.
going back up. But I love the fact that I can sit down and riffle shuffle this deck. I pull it out of a revised deck box.
That's the best part about it.
Yeah, well, the real best part is I only have 13 sideboard cards because that's how many can fit in there without damaging the cards getting in and out.
We'll talk later. I think I figured out how to make like quote unquote custom deck boxes, like cardboard ones.
Oh, amazing.
Hold on, let me see if I can grab it without taking my headphones off.
Because you know me, I would rather have custom than old style stuff, right?
I made one for the California event. So this is slightly larger than a normal deck box, but it's the same thing, but it will hold like 75 cards.
What's it made out of?
Like literal cardboard. Like I went to fucking Joanne Fabrics or like Hobby Lobby, and like they have just like sheets of like brown, like paper bag cardboard. It's just slightly stiffer than your normal stuff. So
sure. I tried to make some out of like, you know what a manila folder, of course you are, you work in a hospital.
Yeah.
Manila folder.
Yep.
I use that material because it's fairly thin and pliable. And then I took an old deck box apart and traced it and cut it out. The size wasn't perfect, but I made one for Claudia last year.
Okay.
For her anti deck, and it was awesome, right?
I'll send you a website. I found a place that has the template, and it'll ask you for measurements, and so you can adjust the deck box size, and then print the template out, and then just like whatever, fucking that's how I made that one.
Yeah, see, I just want to blank because I'm drawing all over stuff. I want to draw on it, sign it. Yeah,
it's got the same stiffness as like a regular deck box, like a regular like cardboard deck box. Just using like paper from Hobby Lobby, like like I forget what they call it. It's like fuck. I'll send you the notes. But that's because I was like getting frustrated with that too, because from AAA I want to play 60 cards, but I also need like 15-ish sideboards for the amount of times I lose. So like I'm always frustrated by not being able to shove all that into a fucking Ice Age boot. Like that.
Yeah, it fits like 60.
Yeah. 63.
60, yeah, not much.
Not Not enough for how much I lose. So that's another story. But so you've got your deck made, like your unsleeved deck made. The next question is, like, now that it's made, where are you going to take it next? Like, are you going to do any more traveling? Are you going to travel at all this year? I know you kind of got to stay close to home, but
yeah. So couple things. We have War of the Roses in May,
right?
In Portland.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about that.
Fair. Okay.
about the weekend part of it. But I'm gonna go to Sean's event in June, and then one thing, Doug and Joe and I talked, because Doug and Joe are two of my local friends that are newer guys to the Horde, but we end up traveling together because Aaron and Tanny usually travel together, and so the Boise Berserkers are having an event in
September.
Yes,
it's like the weekend or 2 weekends before the old school Lobster Con. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. So we're talking about driving out there and maybe doing some mountain biking on the way out, because there's some pretty sweet areas in central northern Oregon and southern Washington through there. It's only a 6-hour drive. I got a big pickup truck, and
it's easy.
We could have an awesome weekend. But I just don't love getting on airplanes. I'm built like a refrigerator. So even sitting in those airplane seats anymore, I just don't love it.
I hear you. I hear you. I
Yeah.
think I'm priced into going to Lobster. I'm not. I am for sure going to LobsterCon this year. I'm definitely priced in. So I can go try and sweat hog it up. That's what I'm going to try and
See,
I'm
I
gonna
would,
sweat
I
it.
I want to go so bad to like I've never been to Boston. I've heard
Yep.
Boston's awesome. Dave is one of my favorite people on the planet. Jared's one of my favorite people on the planet, and like the crowd is what gets me.
It's a
Like
deterrent for some. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. I don't love being in huge crowds like that, being packed in like sardines, getting hot. Um, but like, anyways, that's going to be an event. I hope that they keep running these because I'm going to get out there at some point. You just got to make it work with your family and with work and with all that stuff. But I want that's one of the last ones I have on my bucket list because I've done pretty much everything else. Um, I'd like to do the Gettysburg one sometime. Uh, I love that part of the country.
I I am doing that one. That's the January coming up, January 2026.
Yeah,
That's like literally where I'm from. So I'm gonna
yeah,
go do that this year. I will not be in Vegas this year, so I can go do that.
yeah. See, I have friends and a bunch of family from Philadelphia, and so when we go back there for a visit during the summertime, I've gone there a couple times, and I love that part of the country. I love history,
Oh
and
yeah.
so you can kind of combine magic and some sightseeing, some other stuff, and it's a totally different area than our part of the country. You know, there's nothing older than 100 years where we're at.
Well, there
You
is. It's
know,
just nobody cares.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and back there, everything is made of these bricks that they've
Yeah.
seen.
You
They've
got
seen
to like
some
run up
shit.
Pickett's charge and shit. You got to do some
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I just, I find a lot of that stuff inspiring. You know, it's just I don't want to say it's cool because it's not like some atrocities happen there.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's definitely a place with some gravitas
Hmm.
that um I like going there. I like the feeling that I have when I go places like that. Um
Yeah, dude,
it's just
it's really cool. If
it's awesome.
assuming they've changed nothing in 30 years, there is there is like a they have like an interactive map that is like was built in the 1970s and it's got like little like not even LEDs, like incandescent lights that like light up and it explains the battle. Dude, so core fucking memories unlocked with that thing. But
Yeah.
there's also towers on the battlefield, so when you go out there, you can go up the towers and then you can
Mhm.
kind of like see like what they were talking about, which is very helpful.
Yeah, yeah. Like down among like the hill that I can't remember which it was, but down at the bottom of that hill, there's all those rocks
Yes.
at the bottom, and they're talking about that the Confederates had snipers up that could shoot 1,000 yards with a smoothbore.
Smoothbore. Dude, that's just like just going. I don't know. Sniper is a loose term. Look, dude, they were shooting in the
Yeah.
general direction of other people.
So just sending it. I'm like,
Just sending it. I mean, even like back then, like cannons were like direct fire weapons. Like nobody was indirect firing shit. They were just like
yeah,
line up. Let's see who's got it.
yeah,
Which is crazy if you when you truly think about it.
yeah.
Yeah, dude, it is pretty immense. Like when you go there and you're like, oh, basically like dudes just like were like lined up and they were like, what if we just march towards each other while shooting and see what happens? Like that's
Mhm.
effectively like what I mean, they were doing flanking and stuff with cavalry, but like in essence,
Yeah,
watch people march at each other. So
yeah.
that stuff's pretty crazy.
Incredible piece of history, right?
Yep, exciting stuff. All right, what other red green stuff do we want to talk about? Was there any other spice cards that we wanted to talk about? Not spice cards, but like
Things along the margins. I don't know. Like, do you play Pendlehaven?
yeah,
Would you
three.
play Pendlehaven
Three
in my
in
deck?
the
Yeah,
aggro, three in the aggro. You don't need four because you're like you don't want to draw like maybe more than one, but in four strip
yeah,
you need that second one sometimes because the first one's gonna go at some point.
yeah. I think I play two of them. One because they help with the Curd Ape in case you whiff on the forest, they can still pump. I've got a bunch of 1/1s. Scrib sprites. L- the amount of times I've done 20 with a Llanowar Elf is not zero.
Yeah, no,
Um,
dude. That's why I
yeah,
think Curd Ape's got to go because Pendlehaven doesn't give you a force count to hold up Curd Ape. In
yeah,
for everything I'll say is in a four strip environment.
yeah.
Um, I think Kurt Ape is. I think I'm down on Kurt Ape, and I'm up on playing like other stuff. Other even the ogre, even the fucking ogre.
See, I'm almost tempted to try something like a couple of dryads in the sideboard in case you're running into somebody who's splashing green, because everybody splashes green anymore for regrowth and some other stuff. Pixies is a popular card.
Yeah, you'll catch people who are playing like Rug.
Yeah.
Or if like you got like Paul de Silva deck and he's playing like Urnums and stuff like that, he's got to have some amount of forest. So
yeah, they got 2 Savannahs out, and you drop one of those, and they just say, "Oh shit,
like, cool."
This is not great.
I mean, otherwise it's just like a regular 1/1, right? Like, it's not a bad choice. I'm gonna write that down. I might take that idea.
Yeah, I mean, just because the card pool of like playable green little creatures goes downhill pretty fast after the first 5, 6, 7. I mean, I know Dave loves Slug and he loves the Goth chick, but
but that's a different deck. Like that deck is trying to get to 3 so that it can like Ice Storm you.
Yeah,
it's trying to play that tempo game. And this is more like not tempo, but just like if you don't have removal, I'm gonna win.
Yeah, I mean, see, this deck like ports over to AAA or even just regular Alpha through Alliances so well because Yavimaya Ants and Deadly Insect, and like my favorite is Autumn Willow. Dude, Autumn Willow.
It's a good card.
Yeah.
It's good. It's a good card. I agree.
Yeah, I mean that's a different deck too, but I mean you get those in Bounty the Hunt. Like you don't need red cards anymore. You just
Bounty the Hunt does it. It's like another card that like we just got back from an event where like they added like 5 cards. They just called it OS Plus. And like the 5 cards they added were great, but like there's all those cards out there where you're like, oh, you could like run that event back and just change out the 5 cards every time, and it would be exciting every time because there's so the within like the old school realm. So like let's just say Alliances and Ice Age, right? Like it's an interesting idea moving forward.
Yeah, because you don't have like everybody thinks Alpha and Alliances and like, oh, cool, you're playing Necro. Oh, cool, you're playing Force of Will. I'm like, do you know how many other cool cards there are in that set? Have you ever even seen Arcane Denial? Like
that's a better card. That's better than Force of Will in some respects. Like yes, Force of Will is a good card. It's not as good in Alpha through Alliances as people think it is.
Right.
And then like fucking Brainstorm's fucking god awful. Necro is easily like everybody like Necro gets hated out. Like it's the evolution of the formats, right? Like if you look at how Nashville plays, like they started off very Necro heavy, and if you look at their top 8s now, it's like one Necro deck because everybody's like, we can just beat it. It's beatable. Anyhow, format warping, sure, but
you play. There's the 40% Necro, 40% anti-Necro, and like Black Vise, Howling Mine, Bolts, ATOG, whatever you want to call it, and then and then you got your 10% around the margins.
Yeah. Dude, I think the combo deck I played in your last event is like the deck I would build if I was going to go to Nashville in December, right? Like
it's awesome, isn't it?
It's so good. I feel so bad I will shout out Josh Bergoa. He was a champion for dealing with me being like, I think this is what I'm going to do. And then just like watching me like basically play solitaire for like a solid 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I appreciate them for doing that for me.
Did you like Diminishing Returns? Did you ever cast it?
Yes, I cast it. Actually, in our game 3, I cast it so many times that I got decked when Josh cast a Wheel of Fortune on me. That's how many times I cast 3 of them. I just needed it. I needed a fireball.
Yeah, dig, baby, dig.
I like that card. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I
wish it was 1 blue less.
I mean, like it's like what quote unquote the fixed Time Twister. Like,
yeah.
It probably could be okay at like 2 and a blue or like 1 blue, something like that. Anyhow,
so you can cast off wheel.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Have you done anything fun lately?
Just went to Chalice and came back. That's it. And just like fucking burnout.
Did you have fun?
I had a great time, honestly. I'm putting together like a like potpourri episode. So I'm like getting
Oh,
people's like I ask them 2 questions and just getting like a bunch of responses from people. Uh,
fantastic.
dude, it was a lot of fun. I've been to now 2 chalices. Uh, I learned from my mistakes from chalice one. Your first chalice is a shit show. Your second chalice is like where you really hit your stride, in my opinion. Um, it was a lot of fun to see the usual crews. I thought Urzazani was good this year. I'm not a, as you well know, I'm not good at the drafting and the sealed deck stuff. I do it
Sure.
for fun, but like I
Mhm.
lucked out. I got they basically handed me like a really solid starter deck, and I was able to not shit the bed with it.
Uh-huh.
That was my Urzazani. Um, it was a good time. Went on a really far walk in the forest with a bunch of dudes and talked not magic. That was a great time.
Yeah.
The I think you would have enjoyed the painting. So
Did you do it?
I
Do
did
you
not,
have it?
dude.
Oh my
Hold on,
god.
stop,
I
stop.
want I want it so bad.
I've already showed. I had to show Andy Baccaro this today. There's a reason I don't do the painting. Okay, that's up there.
I wanted to see your wheel so bad. I would have bid on that.
It was well we the bidding I will this episode will come out tomorrow. Somebody bid quite a lot of money for a Wheel of Fortune done by Mr. Gellin. Quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
It was pretty fun to watch 2 people bid on that thing. It was so I didn't do that. They were in there for 6 hours. They were going to go all day. Um, they like did a transfer, so it wasn't freehand. So you got
Yeah.
to like I would have done better at this one than I would have with the last person because
Yeah.
we were just kind of freewheeling it.
Because you're coloring as opposed to painting.
Correct. And
Yeah.
whenever Mark said the word chartreuse and I didn't know what that was, that's when I knew I was in trouble.
You didn't know if that was a shape or a color.
I literally like there was 12 collars in front of us. I didn't know which one to pick. I knew it wasn't white and it wasn't black. But yeah, it's like so they did like a transfer. So like the stencil was there. I probably would have done better this year than I would previously. But I also was glad I didn't spend 6 hours just painting.
Sure.
That's just for me. A lot of people really enjoyed it, and a lot of people are like true artists. And so that's like a big draw for the Sunday event.
Mhm.
But
Well, yeah,
no complaints from me.
yeah. Well, awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna catch up with Joe and Doug. I think next weekend or 2 weekends, and kind of get the download from them. But sounds like everybody had a good time.
Yeah, I mean, no like obvious flaws. They even like like this is gonna sound crazy, and I know they didn't do it just for me, but they even like had like cold brew on tap because like
Oh,
you
awesome.
you know what I mean. Like I was like, fuck yeah, let's go, dog. Like
Yeah.
so that was
Well, it just gets
pretty
they
nice.
take input every year. Now, was the pool open?
Pool wasn't open. But you would. It's
Mm,
similar to last time we were there together. Wouldn't
yeah.
want to get in that pool. Mark
Yeah, it was chilly.
But on Mono Green in the Woods, we walked out to the stream
Uh-huh.
or the creek, whatever you want to call it.
The crick.
The crick. And Mark Root jumped in that motherfucker, and and then he got out and played games of Mono Green. Dude, I would have been hypothermic. It was
Yeah.
too fucking cold for me. I don't know how he did it. Dude, I was just standing there like in regular clothes and I was cold. I was like, fuck, hurry up your games, assholes. But like, dude's a fucking monster at that stuff.
Yeah. I love that stuff. I love getting out of the woods, just wandering around. That was one of the best parts about last time we went. So,
Yeah, the weather was really nice. And it
great,
had just been
great.
raining like the last week, so it was like wet out, but it wasn't like
Uh-huh.
it wasn't insane. So
Yeah, that's good.
nothing 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 crazy that won't come out in the wash.
Sure.
I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss anything. Have you ever done World Series of Money Draft?
No, I've never been there for that.
Okay.
Because I'm usually I go to bed about 11 or 12 at Chalice. I'm not one of the ones that hangs on till 4 a.m.
The sweet spot's 2 o'clock. I called it at 2 o'clock or slightly
Yeah.
earlier every night. Perfect timing.
Oh,
Yeah, the World Series of Money Draft. I'm going to leave that. I'll talk to you about it off cast because I'm sure Mano's going to talk about it on cast.
sure.
Uh,
Sure.
that was quite entertaining from my perspective.
Mhm.
Good times to be had there, but I wish I honestly would have played a different deck for the main. I tried to sweat hog it, and I shouldn't have sweat hogged it.
Did you get blown out or bad matchups or?
A little bit. I was a little bit inebriated,
Yeah.
and I probably wasn't playing at my best. and I should have just played something more fun.
Yeah. You know what? The more I find it is like if you play a deck that you're familiar with, 99 times out of 100 you're going to do better than if you grab the newest thing or the tier 1 deck and try and figure it out on the fly. Just
Yeah, like my game 2, I was altered enough that I saw that I had 2 Moxes and some playable cards, and it didn't realize that I didn't have a land to like cast the one spell I needed to cast. That's where I was mentally at. So I should have just played red. I should have played red green.
Yeah.
Should have.
Yeah.
Should have just done it. Oh man, it was quite the game. I like was
Yeah.
like I'm like you've just I'm like I like looked and I was like I'll keep this. And then like a second later I was like, all right, you probably have already won this game. We should probably just go to 3. Like it's fun. I played it out. It was fun. Like
Yeah, sometimes those are the best when you're battling, and you can Black Lotus Time Twister anybody you want.
it's true. It's true.
Regrowth your ancestral a couple times.
I wish. I need to buy some. I need to buy some more duels. Is what I really learned from this event. So
I mean, dude, your collection has really come together. I thought that you were a red green guy by circumstance, and it does not appear so. Like you have some cards.
I do. I'm short tundras and tropical islands. I'll probably purchase one or the other this year. My problem is I have other expensive hobbies that I'd rather be doing.
Sure.
So not in this room, but I have like sets of skis that if I hadn't bought, I could have bought those duels plus some probably other duels.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't say no to ski stuff. So that's my problem. That's my actual problem.
I mean, hey, skiing or turn onesie in a forest and a Mox, Mox jet,
Yeah,
and saying go, or playing a Felwar Stone and saying go is not the same as jumping out of a helicopter onto a mountain.
it's true. I will talk to you about the cost of doing heli skiing off this podcast. It makes it seem like I have that money to do that, and truly I do not, but I have done it. And it was very much worth the cost, but it is prohibitively expensive, is what I'll say.
I can imagine.
Like here, I'll say this: like there's no refunds. So like because how they do it, I was talking to the guy who owns the company. They buy fuel. So like if you want to go heli skiing in Alaska, they buy their fuel for the season in advance in cash.
Mm-hmm.
So like they're already in debt. Let's call it $100K just in fuel, not counting pilots, helicopters, all that shit. Yeah. So when you're like, oh, I want to do a week in January, and they're like, I'm just gonna make up a number. This isn't probably realistic, but they're like, okay, it's $10K per person for the week. That is non-refundable because they need that literally just to like break even at the end of the year.
Well, yeah, they're gonna have to pay the fuel costs one way or another.
They already did pay. They paid at the beginning of the season. And so like they're literally they're in a hole and they're just trying to get out of the hole and then maybe get a little bit above the hole.
Yeah.
That's how that works for that in particular, that one company. Because nobody's giving you fuel on credit, basically.
Right.
And there it is.
What a way to
it's a living. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Like and the clientele's there. It's not you and me. It's way richer people.
Yeah. Not me.
Yeah. Yeah. Trust me. I was batting outside my average on that one for that 1 year. So
well, good. Well, so what's next for you? You got anything on your plans?
Your event, Sean's event.
Yeah.
LobsterCon.
LobsterCon. Yeah.
LobsterCon 99%.
And then all the work to pay for it in between.
Yes. As many I got my W-2. I need to look and see how many hours I worked. Because what I do, like as an hourly employee, what I like to figure out is it's not necessarily a total number on the W-2 pre-tax. It's a total number divided by the total hours.
Yeah, your take home.
Yeah. So like, because I don't know, the 1 year I worked quite a lot of overtime, and I know what that number is. And this year I worked not a whole lot of overtime, and now I will know what that number is. So now I can see if it's truly worth it or not worth it.
Sure. Yeah, was that year that you worked all the overtime though? How much more stressful was it than the last year you just had?
Way more stressful. Like it's because you're working. Like, because whenever they need that overtime is whenever they're short staffed. So you're walking into like a known shit show.
just
we're-
chaos.
We're just like,
Yeah.
all right, like we're just down. We're just like, all right, we just gotta do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I like money. I like nerd cards. So I gotta do stuff.
Yeah, I hear that.
It is what it is. Hey, hold on. I'm gonna stop this cast and then I'll tell you some other real life
Sure.
stuff. All right, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that.